Good morning, everybody. It's Graham again from Unearthed, and it's the next episode of Detecting Talk 2019. Got to get that bit in. Right, today's topic is slightly coming away from the previous topics. This is based around permission, people's permissions. Now, I'm going to relay a story or a tale to you guys that might help with your own permissions, landowners, farmers, etc, etc. So we'll start the story with going back probably 15 years ago now, where I was lucky enough, blessed enough to gain some really lucrative permission. It was about 500 acres or more, slightly more, if I recall. And just by chance, I was driving past the particular farm in question, and I happened to see the farmer in his courtyard tending to one of his machines, and I thought to myself, why not? He must have been asked 10, 20, 30 times or more in the past by detectorists, and I thought, you know what, he's going to say no, but I'll give it a go. It was a Sunday afternoon, the weather was pleasant. So I took the chance, and I got out of the car and I approached him in the usual manner, and he actually turned around and said, his words were, I do not hold anybody to account that enjoys their hobbies. I've got my own hobbies. Detecting's your hobby. So why not? You can come on. I was like, wow, couldn't believe it. So from that point onwards, I visited that particular farm 2 or 3 times a year, because it was quite a distance away from where I lived. And it was an arable farm. 90% of it was arable. There was a very small, well, probably 95% of it was arable. There was a very short, small area of pasture that we left alone. Happy days. We got that close to the farmer that he was happy to give us maps, and he was happy to take us into his one of his rooms at the back of the farm, where he had his maps all laid out on the table. Some of them were quite old maps. He had 2 or 3 if I remember. And he marked them all off for us where we could go. And that was pretty much it. And he did say right from the start, go where you want. As long as you don't make a mess, go where you want. I'm quite happy for you to go wherever you want to go. But remember, it's an arable farm. Right, fine, great. So we ventured out, and there was rough plough, there was stubble available at most of the times when we visited the farm. There was also flat ploughed land for us to go on, that which we ventured onto. And this one particular day, I always remember it because it's part of this story and the reason why I'm bringing it up. We decided to pick an area of this farm that had some interesting features on it. So, for example, there was a drover's road that went through the particular fields. There was a windmill there, and there'd been some old cottages up there as well that have been long gone and demolished. So we thought it's a perfect area to start uncovering the history of this farm. And there was many, many fields to go at, but we decided to concentrate on this one patch. And of course, it was stubble, it was difficult, the weather was warm. We struggled because it was stubble, the stubble was up quite high, so we were gliding the coils above the stubble. We didn't really find a great deal. But I noticed just over the hedgerow there was a flat ploughed field which he'd marked off on one of his maps that he'd given me. I had my map in my pocket. So I opened the map up, what he gave me. Is that one of his? Yes, it is. I'm going to go on it. Didn't think anything other than fines. It was one of them fields that you could stand on and look at, and you could just close your eyes and smell the history. It was that sort of field. It looked the part. No other way to explain it. You just knew there was fines going to come off it. And of course, within 20 minutes, half an hour, hammered coins started appearing, broken buckled parts, buttons and other bits and pieces. And within a couple of hours, I probably had 2 or 3 hammered coins of various descriptions and sizes. And then around just approaching lunchtime, in the distance, obviously you got your earphones on, but I could hear a faint grumble, as in a farm machinery or a vehicle coming towards me and getting louder and louder. And it turned out to be a guy on a quad. which took me by surprise. I was detecting with 2 or 3 others at the time, and they were still on the stubble field. And I looked round, and this quad coming towards me, so I automatically took my headphones off and waited for him to come. And what was surprising was his words were, "Get off here." And I said, "Oh, you know, I'm sorry, but we've got permission." "Oh yeah, no, you've got permission." He wasn't rude. He was just quite straight to the point. "You can't come on this field because it's been seeded." And I was like, "Well, yeah, but the agreement is we can go where we want as long as we don't make a mess." I said, "I've just been speaking to the farmer 2 or 3 hours earlier." "Yeah, but what he didn't tell you is, or what you didn't ask, is you didn't ask about seeded land. You automatically presumed that you could just go on, and you can't. I've just seeded this field recently. We want it left alone." "Right, okay, I do apologise." So what I did, went back in the stubble field, had a bit of a talk, because you feel a bit, not shell-shocked, but you feel a bit like exposed. "Oh God, what have I done wrong here?" I mean, we didn't make a mess. I mean, we were using hand trowels, no spades, so it was very, very, very neat, the holes that we were digging. And of course, the finds were probably in the first 2 to 5 inches anyway, so it wasn't as if we were making a big mess and disturbing too much of that particular field. So what I did do is I went back to the farm at lunchtime, and I managed to get hold of the farmer and said, "Listen, I'm really sorry." I said, "I was on the top fields, blah, blah, blah." Got me map out of the field, showed him the area that was detecting in, and he said, "Oh yes, you should have known that." And I went, I didn't think about asking. I thought we were okay to go on seeded." He said, normally you can, but that particular crop that's going in that field, we want it left. I can't remember what it was. It was a particular crop that they didn't want it disturbing at all. It could have been peas or something like that. Anyway, I said, "Oh, I do apologise." So from that point onwards, all the farm permissions that I gained from that point onwards, I always sat down with the farmer and specifically asked him what we're not allowed to go on, because I automatically presumed that we were okay to go on everything. So it was probably a communication breakdown, and it was probably my fault for not doing my homework, but that would have saved a lot of hassle and a lot of sort of red-faced embarrassment if I had just asked the question, "Is there anything on your particular farm that I'm not allowed to go on?" So it might be worth what you guys, when you're gaining permission, is to make sure that the agreement between you and the landowner is, am I okay to go on your plough, your arable land? Am I okay to go in when the seeds have just been put in? Of course, when the crops are growing up, some farmers don't like them crops disturbing, and you can understand that because it's the livelihood. But usually there's a percentage of farmers that will let you go on the land when it's just been seeded, because you're not going to disturb them. You're going to be patting them back down. There's no harm done. Obviously some farmers are not keen on you going on when it's been seeded, and we have some farmers like that, and you've got to take what they say as gospel. You've got to make sure you do the right thing. So it's worth sitting down with your landowner and or your farmer and just saying, if you've got the map out in front of you, which is always handy, get them to mark off the fields that they've got on the farm, because you don't want to be wandering onto the next door neighbour's farm who's not very detector friendly, and that happens. It happens all over the place. It happens with lots and lots of detectorists over the years. It's happened to me, it's probably happened to you, it's probably happened to just about everybody out there. So the key is get a map, ask him for the map, even if you bring your own map, an Ordnance Survey map, and get him to mark off the fields that he's got for you to detect on, because there's nothing worse than presuming that he owns it, because chances are he doesn't. A lot of these farms are spread about, everybody owns a little patch, it's a mix and match, it can be a bit of a mess sometimes, so it's always worth checking up with your landowner what land he's got and get him to mark it off. And also it's crucial that you ask him, what am I not allowed to go on? Don't just presume you can go on seeded land, because the worst thing you can do is have him driving up in his car or his tractor or his farm vehicle or his quad with smoke coming out of his ears, throwing you off, because it's an embarrassment and it's a loss of trust, and it's just going back to square one with the situation. I know it's a mistake, and he probably knows it's a mistake, but some of these farmers can be quite temperamental at times, and you can't blame them for being like that. So just make sure you ask what land you've got available, what you can go on and what you can't go on, and the crucial thing is, am I allowed to go on seeded? Stubble isn't a problem. It's great when the stubble's been crushed down and flattened off, even better when it's rotted. You can go all over the place without a care. It's different when you start putting the seeds in, and I found that out to my dismay, because it was, I mean, if I'd have carried on that field, I probably would have had a record-breaking day on the hammer. They were coming up left, right and centre. But of course, you know, I couldn't, it's my fault. I should have asked if I was allowed to go on the seeded land. So that's one side of permission that may help you guys. Some of you guys already know the score. It's just relaying my past experiences and hoping that no one makes the same mistakes as I did going back 15 years. Another one is landowners that rent their land out to others. Now, this is a bit of a topic that's going to be interesting to some of you guys watching, where you've got a farm, it's a tenant farmer, he's let you go on, okay? So the tenant farmer rents it off a bigger landowner or a bigger farm, maybe 200 acres or less, and you'd approach the farmer, or the tenant farmer, and say, am I allowed to go detecting on your land? Can I have permission? Blah, blah, blah. And he says, yeah, you can go on, go where you want, go, these are my fields, these are the fields, you can go on. And you go on, right, you've got permission off the tenant, only to find that the main landowner comes by, he drives past, and he comes across and he throws you off. And that happens time and time again. So you've got to be really careful that if you're getting permission off tenant farmers, make sure he's then got in place permission for you to go on from the main landowner, if that makes sense. He's got to make sure he does his homework and asks the question, because the worst thing you can do is have a great day, or potentially a great day out in the fields detecting, and the main owner of the land comes across and says, I do not want anybody detecting on here. It's happened to us, it's happened to many, many people, it still happens to this date. You've got to make sure that the tenant farmers have in place an agreement where you can go on by their landowner, they rent it off, or lease it off, or whatever they do. So make sure you do your homework on that one, guys. It's crucial, because, you know, tenant farmers are fine, they'll let you on, but the main landowner may have a completely different opinion about detecting. So you've got to make sure, even if you go as far as tracking down, I should say, I couldn't get my words out there again, tracking down the main landowner to make sure you are okay to go on. Say you've got permission from the tenant, he hasn't got a problem with it, but I thought it's courtesy to come to you to make sure it is okay. Now, you're running the risk of them saying, no, I don't want you to go on. Is it better to let the tenant do the work for you? It's a difficult one to answer. But make sure you don't fall into the trap of getting thrown off land that isn't owned by the farmer. Tenancy farmers, it's a difficult situation to be in. So I hope that helps. It just gives that little bit of guidance and advice that some detectorists need, and don't fall into the pit hole of getting thrown off, because there's nothing worse. It's embarrassing. It's not, you know, you've got all your gear on and you've got the day booked off work or whatever, or you've got a free few hours to spare and kill to go out detecting, and there's nothing worse trampling back to the car despondent with your head down, with the farmer hot on your heels telling you to get off the land. It's nothing worse than that. It's embarrassing. Always do your homework, folks. Now, coming away from the permission side of it, just a quick announcement here. We have signed up an agreement now with Fisher Metal Detectors, Fisher Research Labs. We'll be selling Fisher machines from probably the next couple of weeks onwards. So the good old F22s, which are a great little machine, the weatherproof machines, and the F44s, another weatherproof machine from Fisher. They're great machines, introductory types, and you know, they've got quite high levels of performance. So that's one area that we're going to be moving into, back selling Fisher machines like we once did. We used to sell quite a lot of them and had many, many happy Fisher customers. And yesterday we also signed up with XP. Now, we did sell XP going back about 3 or 4 years or more, but we've decided now, with an agreement from the main UK distributor, Regtons, that we're going to be selling XP machines hopefully from just after Easter. So what we're going to be doing is opening up now. You know, we do sell lots and lots of Technetics machines and accessories. Minelab here behind us, we sell a heck of a lot of Minelab machines and accessories, a few Garrett machines, but we're broadening now our horizons, because we've got to make sure we supply people with what they want. You know, it's okay being boxed off to 2 or 3 manufacturers, that's great, it's good for the manufacturer, it's good for us, but we're probably losing sales because we're going to keep that over our heads, folks. I've got to keep the roof over my head. I can't, no one else pays my wages apart from me dear customers. So we're going to be back on with Fisher, selling their machines and accessories, and also XP. So the dais, the new stuff that's come out from XP, the accessories, the probes, everything else is going to be coming out very soon. So watch this space. It's going to give us a lot of work to do on our website to upgrade it, but we're going to get there very soon. So keep an eye out for that, folks. I hope that helps. Good luck if you're out detecting. There's no unearthed organised digs anytime soon. We'll maybe get one in the end of the month, start of May. We'll maybe look at the first cut of grass, because the grass is starting to jump up now here in Cumbria, so we may do that. I won't be detecting personally now until June or July. The crops are all in, I've got nowhere to go apart from pasture, and it's all been blitzed to death, and we can only wander over pasture so many times. So there'll be not many videos of me finding things until probably July. So it'll be back to detecting talk and other interesting videos coming soon. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great Easter, folks. Bye for now.